Now at 11, new details about what happened in the moments before a woman plunged 16 stories down the garbage chute of a Portland luxury condo building.
Plus, Agent Orange in Wallowa Lake. Nope. What the EPA did find inside some barrels that had divers previously very concerned.
Also, after decades of debate, it looks like Oregon will be the second state to pass a cap and trade bill. We're breaking it down for you and how it will affect you.
This is KGW News at 11.
Our top story tonight, neighbors of an Oak Grove church pretty angry right now over the idea of homeless people using the church's parking lot overnight.
They're worried about safety and a lot of the unknowns that go with the county-sponsored program. KGW's Catherine Cook is live at King of Kings Lutheran Church in Oak Grove, which listened to neighbors' concerns tonight. Catherine?
And Laurel, the church hopes the congregation, neighbors, and the community can all agree on how to help the homeless in this area. But if tonight was any indication, not everyone is on board with this idea.
Now, we are dealing with human beings.
A plea for compassion during a heated debate.
Take them home to your house and have them live in your bed.
The question, should an Oak Grove church let a small number of homeless people park in their lot overnight?
And this is a chance to give an unhoused person or family a place to sleep through the night without being rustled out.
Mary Zellharry is leading the effort at King of Kings Lutheran Church in Oak Grove. They applied for a permit from Clackamas County, which would let up to 3 vehicles park in their lot between 6 p.m. and 8 a.m. It's called SOS, Safe Overnight Shelter. There would be rules, including no drugs, alcohol, or guns.
There isn't any need to be afraid. We're going to vet our guests carefully. They're going to be safe. We're going to monitor. They're going to have rules.
Some neighbors like Tina Canham aren't convinced.
We feel like there should be 24-hour security, some sort of supervision.
Tina says she moved here to get away from problems related to the homeless in Portland.
And I was coming home, they were on my porch sleeping. My biggest concern is where they're going to go during the day.
Rumor and fear will generate a lot.
Reverend Sharon Hughes is worried about her community. At last count, 2,300 houseless people were living in Clackamas County, the second highest in the state. Clackamas County would screen applicants and refer good fits to King of Kings. The church would run background checks, and Providence Health and Services would provide case managers.
It's really helping the person with whatever they feel like they need to become more stable and improve their well-being.
So far, King of Kings is the only church in Clackamas County to apply for the SOS permit. Mary hopes they won't be the last.
This is a chance to show other areas that this can be done.
The permit would be good for 1 year, but church organizers say if things aren't going well, they would close down the program before that. Back to you.
All right, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens, Catherine. Thank you. The teenager accused of shooting and killing 2 people at 2 different locations in less than 48 hours appeared in court this afternoon. 19-year-old Michael Ramirez. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. The first shooting happened on May 24th in the Lentz neighborhood at Southeast 103rd and Reedway Street. 44-year-old Sergei Peshkov was found dead in the front yard of a home. There's now a memorial there for him in the sidewalk where neighbors continue to bring flowers and light candles. Neighbors telling us they're still pretty shaken up.
It all was just awful, awful. And when we found out it was Sergei, we were just all upset all over again.
The second shooting happened the next day on May 25th. 18-year-old Lorenzo Gordon was found dead outside of an apartment building near Southeast Stark in 162nd. Police are not saying right now how Ramirez is connected to either victim or how police figured out he was their suspect.
New tonight, we're learning more about what happened before a woman plunged 16 stories down a trash chute at a Portland condo building. A resident there tells us the woman had burst into his apartment in a manic state in the minutes before she fell.
She was just manic, crazy, all the time screaming nonstop, "Todd's going to kill me."
That's Stephen Lofton. He says he and his neighbors at the Civic Building know this woman well. He says she's been causing problems in the building for a few months, including mental health episodes and frequent fights with a man Lofton says is her boyfriend. Yesterday, he says the woman was pounding on the door to his condo. He opened the door and she rushed in.
When I opened the door, she jumped over me and tore through the apartment. She picked up vases and threw them on the floor. You'll notice there's no lamps in my living room anymore. She threw the lamps, opened the cupboards, threw dishes. She pushed me to the floor, cut me. My knee is swollen.
She eventually ran out of the apartment, and that's when he locked the door and called police. A few minutes later, she fell down the trash chute. The woman survived the fall but was critically hurt. Portland fire officials tell us they believe she got in the chute voluntarily. Lofton says this was all preventable. He says she's supposed to be banned from the building, and if the property manager had enforced that ban, she wouldn't have gotten hurt.
Nothing to worry about, says the EPA, about those concerning barrels found at the bottom of Wallowa Lake. Divers had reported seeing some labels for a chemical that was used to make Agent Orange. Environmental officials, of course, came out to investigate this, and they found 74 barrels on the south side of the lake. Most were at least partially broken and staying there at the bottom of the water. They removed 5 total, 3 with labels indicating chemicals and 2 that appeared intact. All had holes and only contained lake water. The EPA says it will test the lake for chemicals and won't remove any more barrels unless those tests come back positive. They believe these 55-gallon drums were most likely used as floats or anchors for floating docks.
A new report calls out Portland area hospitals for essentially criminalizing mental illness. Disability Rights Oregon looked at calls to Portland police from 6 hospitals between 2017 and 2018. There were 142 calls for trespassing or an unwanted person. Of those calls, 42 of them were referring to people who clearly showed or expressed a mental health condition. And in a lot of these cases, the hospitals wanted police to remove and arrest the person, not because they were causing a disturbance, but because they were asking for help and refused to leave.
To criminalize that behavior just feels like a really telling example of how stigmatizing mental health conditions still are, even in our healthcare settings, and how far we have to go as a community in terms of decriminalizing mental illness.
The study also found people who were homeless and people of color were more likely to be arrested for trespassing at a hospital. Disability Rights Oregon wants a change in procedures dealing with these communities, more resources, and long-term help from providers for housing and other care.
A data breach could affect as many as 645,000 clients with the Oregon Department of Human Services. The breach happened in January of this year after DHS employees fell for a phishing attempt. Letters are going to be going out to people who might have had their personal information compromised, so keep checking your mailboxes. DHS is providing 12 months of identity theft monitoring and a $1 million insurance reimbursement policy for people whose information was accessible. More details on those services will be included in the letters.
Oregon is one step closer to taking a historic step by adopting a cap and trade program. A bill just passed the State House yesterday and is about to go before the Senate. Here's how it would work. In the beginning, any company releasing more than 25,000 tons of greenhouse gases a year would be required to pay for each ton of gas they produce. Right now, that's about 100 companies, but that will apply to more companies as that 25,000 ton cap is gradually reduced. The money would pay for a transition to cleaner energy. If approved, all of this would begin in 2021, with the ultimate goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions to 80% below 1990 levels by the year 2050. By auctioning off polluting permits, the program would raise an estimated $550 million in just the first year. It is highly controversial and would have wide-reaching impacts across the state.
We will be providing hundreds of millions of dollars a year into our state economy that will be used for energy savings, renewable energy.
If you could shut down all emissions in the state of Oregon, and you really couldn't measure that on a world scale as far as carbon emissions.
If the bill passes the Senate, Governor Brown has said she will sign it.
I stand before you to officially launch my campaign for a second term as President of the United States.
There you hear it, accompanied by cheers. President Trump making it official tonight, relaunching his re-election campaign. He spoke for more than an hour and a half, touting what he called the accomplishments of his first 2 years in office to thousands of Rowdy fans in Orlando and supporters closer to home. Members of the Clark County GOP watched this rally live, cheering along 4 more years.
Still ahead, an Oregon high school teacher reads some of his own writing to students, and the content of that poem has the district investigating.
Plus, more details about a local gas station's use of facial recognition technology outside of their front door as privacy advocates sound the alarm.
I'm Matt Safino. This is the Strawberry Moon, which is a little bit less than full right now. We've got moonrise for you and, of course, sunset from the Dalles. And we've got cooler temperatures and even some rain in the forecast in case you've been missing it.
And remember, KGW Shred Day is this Saturday from 8 to noon. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this day. You can come by and shred 1 box of documents for free. We'll be set up at 2 different locations this time, Clackamas Promenade and Westview High School.
And the Make-A-Wish Foundation will also be there accepting donations to help local kids fighting critical illnesses. It's a great cause. We hope to see you there.